So this is the seventh Alien film, and it's, as I understand it, a sequel to Alien, but a prequel to Aliens, in as much as it happens somewhere in between those two films. So co-written and directed by Fede Alvarez, who made the 2013 Evil Dead and Don't Breathe 2016, to which this owes something of a debt. So sometime after the events of Alien, the remnants of a spaceship are floating in space and are picked up by a Weyland-Yutani vessel, okay? Meanwhile, on a grim, daylightless mining colony, young Rain Carradine, played by Kaylee Spaney, who was so brilliant in Priscilla. Did you see Priscilla, Sanj?
I haven't seen it yet.
She's great. I mean, you'd love it. Being the Elvis fan that you are, I think it's really interesting. I mean, she's fabulous in Priscilla. So she discovers that the company aren't going to let her leave anytime soon, and she wants to go somewhere where there's actually sunlight. However, there's a group of young colonists have spotted a disused Weyland-Yutani spaceship floating above the planet. And their plan is for Rain and her companion, Andy, who is a once junked synthetic person, played by David Johnson, who's so brilliant in Rye Lane, which I absolutely loved. And his prime directive is to protect Rain. He was kind of, reconfigured by her now absent father, to join them in breaking into the ship, stealing its cryopods, and then making off for a new world. But when they get there, they discover that the thing that's floating above, not quite the ship they thought. It appears to be this kind of bisected Romulus Remus outpost. And rather than being decommissioned, it appears to have been ravaged from the inside. So we're off again. So firstly, the plus points, okay? Kaylee Spaney is very, very adept at being a kind of stand-in cipher for Sigourney Weaver. And in fact, the film does plenty of visual callbacks to moments from Weaver's turn as Ripley. Also, the film relies pretty heavily on impressively squishy physical effects. So if you think that when we first saw Alien, it was all kind of pre-CG, and it was a real delight to see those Giga designs. And then one of the great disappointments of Alien 3 was that it looked so CG. I mean, it just didn't look physical enough. And here, there is quite a lot of, drooly, slimy, practical stuff that you feel like you can feel it and touch it. And the BBFC certificate is 15 for strong horror, gore, and language. Johnson has real fun with the role of a gentle synthetic soul who then completely changes due to an upgrade. So it's that idea of playing two characters in the same body, which is always a bit of a sort of challenge for an actor, and I think does it very well. And there are a couple of neat new ideas that we haven't seen really done before in the series. One of them, which we have dealt with some extent, is the problem of how do you kill an alien that's got acid for blood, that if you kill it, the acid will drip through the outside of the spacecraft and kill everybody. So they do an interesting thing with that. They've also got, there's quite a lot of business about turning the gravity on and turning the gravity off, and that works quite well as a device. And there is a sequence which is very Don't Breathe-y about when they figuring out that how it is that the face huggers can detect humans, and there's a way of kind of they can't detect us if the following thing is true. Okay, so all those are plus points. On the downside, it doesn't make any sense, although how much of an issue that is. I mean, particularly the stuff at the beginning about the retrieval of the bits of blown up space. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense at all, but that's fine. Secondly, the decision to revive a key character through the miracle of digital effects simply proves that digital effects haven't yet figured out how to do mouths properly. And it's particularly bothersome since in the particular case of the revived character, they could just have done a melted, messed up mask and it would have been fine. I mean, it's one of those effects that weirdly enough, you probably just should have just done a William Shatner mask, but and it's so distracting. It's so distracting. Also, with the exception of the anti-gravity stuff and the I suppose to some extent the acid blood thing, this is very much a compendium of familiar riffs. So at one point, a character says very self-referentially, "Get away from her, you B word." There's a callback to the famous scene of Ripley slipping into the spacesuit at the end of Alien. There's a kind of callback to the thing from Aliens, in which Ripley is shown how to use the whammo blaster, and and then in the final half hour of the film, maybe the final 20 minutes, but when the film goes completely mad, I mean, the last half an hour, it goes completely nuts. And you get a cross between the weirdest scene from Alien Resurrection and the silliest scene from Prometheus. And there's also a kind of strange thing. You remember in Alien 3, it's a bunch of Brit actors who all swear a lot, and you can't really, and then they get picked off by the alien. I mean, in the case of this, the characters you care about most often aren't the humans. So there is a sense of kind of shut up and play the hits, and it doesn't make any sense. But I was never bored. There is some fun stuff in there. It is tense at times because the director knows how to do tension. There is some very likable monster goo. And unlike some of the other, alien movies, we don't have to put up with a bunch of fatuous myth-building nonsense in which, Michael Fassbender discusses the meaning of life, or there's a droning thing about the stupid idea of cosmic engineers, which I never understood why Ridley Scott became enamored of that stuff, because it was... So it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I mean, overall, it's better than Covenant and Prometheus, and of course all the rubbish Alien Predator films, which don't count. It's not a patch on Alien or Aliens, but it is at the top of the pile of those mid-range, flawed but interesting Alien movies, which is Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, which I always like more than most people. Most people think Alien Resurrection is terrible. I don't think it is, actually. I think it's kind of... I mean, Giga hated Alien Resurrection. I interviewed him and he hated it. I wasn't ever scared, but I did think that there were very tense sequences in it because Fede just does know how to do tension. So, generally, fine. A solid, entertaining alien film, and the kind of the top of the pile of that mid-range, flawed but interesting, but nothing like as good as Alien or Aliens, and nothing like as bad as all the myth-building, guff that we've had to put up with recently, in which people explain the whole point about the alien. It's an alien, and it's a xenomorph, and as Ian Holmes says in the first one, it's perfect because it just kills things, and that's what it does. So, pleasantly surprised, but it's, like I said, not great, but not bad.
Does Hayley Mills turn up to explain to us what's going on?
No, no, but I definitely feel that she would have had a job explaining away there are holes that you could literally fly the Nostromo through, really.
And the B word that you referred to, of course, for those who aren't sure, is bungalow.
Bungalow, that's right.